Okay, so hi everyone, thanks for coming. Today we have Aravinda as our guest speaker. He is currently a last year PhD student at Frederick Alexander University in Germany. And today he's going to talk about his work on lockable signatures for blockchains. Let's welcome Aravinda.
Thanks for the introduction, Kay. So it's wonderful to be here. So I will be talking about lockable signatures for blockchains, and I'm going to skip the later part for now, and it will be clear at a later point in the talk. So it's a joint work with Giulia Malavolta, who's now at Max Planck Institute for Security and Privacy. All right, so 1 second. Yeah, okay. So, consider a cryptocurrency payment where there's a buyer, there's a seller, and here Alice wants to buy a TV, and Bob, says it costs 1 Bitcoin, and Alice, generates a transaction, that sends coins from Alice to Bob, and then it's posted on the blockchain. Okay. What if there are micropayments to consider, where let's say that Bob is offering a service and Alice has to pay to Bob on a timely manner, right? Like for every minute 1 Bitcoin situation. And in that case, does Alice have to post a transaction every minute, right? And if you think about it, that's not very desirable, because that means that Alice has to post several transactions into the network, and depending on the speed of the network and so on, the transactions may take time to finalize and so on. So it's a huge scalability issue. Okay. And here's where there's a neat solution called payment channels, which is a technique to do off-chain transactions, and it's considered as a scalability solutions for cryptocurrency payments. Okay, so consider Alice and Bob. What they have together is a shared public key that's on chain, and there is some amount of coins associated with this shared public key. And this shared public key is referred to as a channel, right? It's called a channel, and there is an expiry time for this channel that just says that after this this time t, that's capital T, the funds that is stored in this channel will be transferred back to either Alice, if Alice is the one funding the channel. Okay, so now it's just a shared address, and if the coins have to be spent from this shared address, they have to be signed by both these users. Okay, so essentially what they can do now is they can make several payments and like transferring a coin from the channel to Bob, and if you take a payment to at max have 1 coin, in this case they can in total there can be 30 payments, and one of these payments has to be posted on chain before the channel expires, right? So essentially what goes on chain is the final transaction that both Alice and Bob want to post on chain. But in a sense, up to 30 payments can happen off chain, right? They are not recorded on chain. And this is this is referred to as off-chain transactions. Okay, so if there is a situation where Bob wants an Ethereum or an Ether, and Alice only has a Bitcoin, right? They are completely different cryptocurrencies, and they have different rules for verifying transactions and so on. So what can you do in this case? So this is what is referred to as cross-currency payments, and imagine that magically there are these other users, Carol and Dave, who have these suitable requirements, where Alice is offering a Bitcoin, Carol is willing to take a Bitcoin but wants let's say 1 Litecoin, and Dave wants 1 Litecoin and is offered to give an Ether, and Bob wants an Ether. So it's a perfect chain, right? So Alice can pay Carol a Bitcoin, Carol can pay Dave a Litecoin, and Dave can pay Bob an Ether. It's a very convenient arrangement, right? So you can achieve such a cross-currency payments via payment channels, right? So what can happen now is Alice and Carol can have a payment channel in the Bitcoin blockchain, with one Bitcoin in it. Carol and Dave, have a channel, and Dave and Bob have a channel correspondingly. And payments can happen now using what is called a hash time lock contract or a HTLC. So what is a hash time lock contract? So the hash time lock contract has a source address like A and the destination address B. So the money flows from A to B, right? And the amount of money, amount of coins that is transferred, think of it as one X coin, right? And it has to happen before time t. And when will this payment happen from A to B, right? A to B, the payment will happen if if B, the user controlling B, produces a value which is the pre-image of this hash hedge. So this hash here is a hash value, and if a pre-image of this hedge is provided, then the contract transfers the money from A to B. Okay, and this is a hash time lock contract. So how does this help in this generalization of payment channels, which is called payment channel network? Is you can set up these hash time lock contracts one by one, right? So first, Alice and Carol set up this HTLC that transfers money from the channel of Alice and Carol to Carol, right, for some hash value hedge. For now, I would ignore this time t plus 2 delta, just ignore that. But in essence, the coins are transferred from the channel between Alice and Carol to Carol, provided a pre-image of this hash value hedge is provided. Okay, and then a similar HTLC is set up between Carol and Dave, where the money goes from their channel to Dave, and similarly there is a HTLC between Dave and Bob, where the money flows from the channel between Dave and Bob to Bob. Okay, so this is set up. So these HTLC contracts are set up in this manner. And the party that is controlling the pre-image, who has this pre-image, is Alice here, right? So what does Alice do? So all these payments are set up. Now the payments have to go through. So how does it happen? So Alice sends this value X to Bob, and Bob uses this pre-image X, to make the HTLC succeed between Dave. And then once this contract is posted on chain with the pre-image X, Dave learns the pre-image X and can get the contract that is between Carol and Dave. And similarly, once this goes on chain, Carol runs the pre-image and it can get paid using the HTLC with Alice. Okay, so you set up the payments and then you release the payments, right? So this works wonderfully well, and it's even used in practice currently. But there are some issues with this approach. So the prominent one being what is called a wormhole attack. I won't go into the detail of this, but on a very intuitive level, what happens is, notice that the HTLC here has the same hash value as the of every other HTLC in this payment setup, right? Now, what happens if one of the user controlling this HTLC who learns the pre-image, instead of giving publishing the pre-image on chain along with the HTLC contract, can give the pre-image value X to the party here. In this case, it will be Carol, right? So Carol and Bob know the value X before Dave learns X, right? And they can play together in such a way that they ensure that the party in the middle, Dave, doesn't get to learn the pre-image within the right time, and potentially make him lose some coins that he would gain through some fees during this payment channel network hop. So, I mean, the crucial flaw here is that the same hash value is stored in all these HTLCs, and the parties could coordinate arbitrarily to make intermediate parties lose some coins. And the other limitation here is that you need such a special contract like a HTLC that that has the logic of verifying a pre-image of a hash and then transferring the money from one address to the other. This special contract is also larger in size than a regular transaction, right? A regular transaction says address A to address B, some coin transfers it. So this HTLC is also larger in size, and it's a larger script. Moreover, if you notice, since the same hash value is stored in all these HTLCs, it so happens that once these HTLC contracts go on chain, an observer of the blockchain can notice that, okay, these HTLCs have used the same hash, so potentially they should also belong to the same payment path, right? And so this is kind of a leakage of privacy. And what is fungibility? Fungibility says that the coins associated with these hash time lock contracts are clearly distinguishable from a regular payment coin, right? So some miner could say, okay, this is a HTLC coin, and I'm not going to accept this coin. So some kind of a meaning is associated with these with the coins associated in these special contracts, and that is said to lower the fungibility of the coins of the cryptocurrency. So these are the faults on a very high level, and there are a few other ones. But we will mainly focus on how to address these problems. So a solution was proposed in 2019 through what is called a scriptless script, right? So the motivation of this is to eliminate the special script HTLC and the same hash value, wormhole attacks, and so on. So the approach is, okay, so you have the channels as before. There's a channel between Alice and Carol, Carol and Dave, Dave and Bob. But now instead of setting up HTLC payments, you just set up a normal pay transactions, right? So a normal pay transaction in this case pays from, the pay transaction here pays from the channel between Alice and Carol to Carol, right? So it's a normal pay transaction, and you set up this iteratively. Okay, so now where is this logic of release coming from? So what happens now is these users, Alice, Carol, Dave, and Dave and Bob, they set up kind of a blinded signature among themselves. It's different from the standard notion of blind signatures, but I'm kind of taking liberty here. But they are they don't hold the correct signature, but the signatures are masked somehow. Okay, and the key to unmasking is with Alice. Okay, so what does Alice do? She has this key. She sends this key to Bob. Bob can now unblind the signature that he has with Dave. Learn the correct sigma DB, which in this case Bob can post the pay transaction that is here along with the signature that he learned to the blockchain, right? So once the signature and the correct pay transaction are posted, Dave now learns the unmasking secret, and iteratively Dave can unlock or unblind the signature, and which means Carol learns, and then Carol can next unblind the signature herself. Okay, all right, perfect. So basically, what we are doing is we are taking the logic of releasing from the contract level and taking it to the signature level, right? And now, if you notice, all that is required is from the blockchain script is just to verify signatures and not any fancy HTLC scripts. Okay. All right. And the construction, from Malavolta and his co-authors was tailored for the case of Schnorr and ECDSA signatures, right? And the construction crucially relies on the fact that these signatures have some randomness, and the sender, that is Alice in our case, can somehow control this randomness, which results in this blinding and unblinding that we want. And a crucial point to notice here is that the signatures that are unblinded and posted on the blockchain do not leak anything about the payment path, right? So these signatures are unlinkable with each other on chain. And therefore, any observer on the blockchain cannot know, okay, these were the payment transactions involved in the same path. So they can't know this, and that's a good thing about this. So now let me just briefly give how this logic worked for the case of Schnorr signatures. So just to recall quickly the working of a Schnorr signature, I've given it here. The signing algorithm, as you can see, picks a randomness, and this is like the first message of a Schnorr identification protocol. And the signature, eventual signature, is this commitment R, which is like G power R, and this integer S, right? And the verification, you check if the challenge is correctly formed, and you check this equation that is given here. Okay, so the crucial point to see here is that the integer S here, that is part of the signature, somehow depends on this R that is committed to in this this randomness R that's committed to in this big R here. Okay, so that is a crucial thing that that is exploited. To see this, think of this transactions as messages M1 and M2. These are the pay transactions. And what happens now is Alice picks these blinding values, capital Y1 and capital Y2, whose discrete log Alice knows. And Alice selectively reveals the small Y1 and its discrete log to Carol, and it just gives capital Y1 and capital Y2 to Dave, right? And now they set up these blinded signatures in such a way that the signature between Alice and Carol, right, the randomness, the randomness that is part of the signature depends on the product Y1 and Y2, right? And if you notice the integer part of this signature here, it is kind of missing the part that is necessary for this Y1 product Y2, right? So it doesn't have this small Y1 and small Y2. So you kind of need this Y1 plus Y2 to complete this signature. So right now this is an incomplete signature, right? And similarly, there is an incomplete signature for Carol and Dave, but where only Y2 is missing, right? So now what happens is if Alice, who knows the small Y2, if she sends the Y2 to Dave, right, Dave can just add the component Y2 here and complete the signature. And once that signature is completed, Carol learns this value Y2, and she already knows Y1. So she can just, complete the signature by adding Y1 plus Y2, right? So this is the trick that crucially relies on this this randomness part that Alice can control. Perfect. So if you have any questions, I forgot to mention this. So if you have any questions, please feel free to interrupt at any point. Okay.
Can you just, sorry, hi, can you just go over this again one more time, please?
Okay, so so you can see that the signing algorithm here has this randomness capital R, and then you do a challenge C. You hash and get the challenge C, and then you set the signature as R, S, where S is just this this R plus C times X, right? So this small R is the discrete log of this capital R. This is crucial for this is the working, right? And if you see here, there's the Y1 dot Y1 product Y2 in this randomness, but the corresponding small Y1 plus Y2 is missing, right? So you can't complete this. It's an incomplete signature, right? And okay, so then you can complete once you know small Y1, small Y2.
Gotcha. Thanks.
Okay. All right. Okay. So now the question is, can you expand this, extend this technique to other signatures, right? So the signatures that are of a lot of interest in the cryptocurrency community for various properties, right? So like the Bonet, Lin, Sasham, BLS signatures, or any post-quantum signature, or or a hash-based signature, or any other signature that offers efficient verification or post-quantum security or fast verification, small storage, whatever, that are all talked about in the cryptocurrency community. So can you extend this technique to any other signature scheme? That is a question that we set out. Unfortunately, these techniques do not carry forward, and the reason is as I said before, the payment transactions are first set between Alice and Carol, Carol and Dave and Bob, right? So these are set in this order because Carol wants to ensure that she can get paid from Alice before she commits to paying to Dave, right? So that's why it's very important that the payment transaction between Alice and Carol is set up first. Then the transaction between Carol and Dave is set, and then Dave and Bob. So this order is very important. Okay, so now consider a situation where the payment transactions between Alice and Carol are set, Carol and Dave are set, but still the payment transaction between Dave and Bob is not yet set, right? And if Carol and Dave, right, if Carol and Dave can unblind their signature, or unlock the signature that they had without involving Alice, or getting any sort of a key from Bob, if they can do it themselves, right, then Carol learns the signature and she can unlock the signature that she had with Alice, right? So these two payment transactions are complete now. They have the corresponding valid signatures. And this just means that Alice did not pay Bob, but rather she just paid Dave, right? So Alice paid Carol and Carol paid Dave. So this can happen if Carol and Dave collude and are somehow able to, produce the correct signature that will let Carol get paid from Alice. Okay. And is this just a hypothetical situation? No. So this actually happens with the case of BLS signatures. So just to recall the BLS signature, the key generation is similar to what we had before in the Schnorr case, and the signing algorithm just hashes the message and has the secret key in the exponent. And you need pairings to verify the signature, with respect to the public key and the message. So what is important here to note is that the signature on a particular message and on a given message and a given key is unique, right? So this is the crucial point. There is no randomness involved. And what happens now is, think of the same steps. So first, Alice and Carol establish this payment transaction. They establish a blind. They kind of blind their signature. But now, since the signature of BLS is unique, Carol and Dave, they have a message, they have a public key whose secret key is shared among them. So they can generate the one and only valid signature, that is sigma CD in this case, because that's unique. So they have the necessary secret key and they can do it themselves without involving Alice at all, right? So once this is known, so Carol learns the one and only valid signature, and then she can just unblind the signature that she had with Alice, because that is also unique, right? So it's guaranteed to be a valid signature. And then, this just means that Alice, the payments that Alice wants to make never reaches Bob, right? So the intermediate guys just steal the money from Alice and run away. A workaround to this problem is, you want to randomize your BLS signatures in some way, and then you want to use that, exploit that randomness in a similar fashion. But we do not know if a cryptocurrency is going to implement that randomized version or a normal BLS. We never know. So we want some protocol that just works with all signatures. Okay. So now the question is, can we have like a generic blinding and unblinding procedure for signatures, and we want somehow that two intermediate users cannot simply unblind a signature and run away with a payment, right? So the sender, in this case, Alice, needs to have some kind of a control over this unblinding process. So it has to be triggered by the sender. So intermediate guys simply cannot run away. Okay, so we deal with this problem in our work. So essentially, what we do is we kind of give a payment channel protocol that does not use any special scripts, just has normal payment transactions and signature verification, but works with all signature schemes. And so based on this generic protocol that we have, we design a very highly efficient protocol for the case of BLS signatures, which was not known until our generic protocol came around. Okay, so
hi Aravinda, I think there's a question in chat asking about last slide.
Which was this one or?
The last one. I think it's asking how are the two signatures tied together in BLS scaling, in this slide.
Okay, so this is so we don't have this. We don't have this construction. This is just we are trying to mimic if a similar approach like a Schnorr would work here, right? So there is no construction that does this. So in that aspect, you would try to somehow blind the signature between Alice and Carol on a condition that a signature from Carol and Dave is produced, right? So in the previous slides, you would have seen that if a valid signature from Carol and Dave is produced, Carol can produce a valid signature between Alice and Carol, right? So we wanted this kind of a condition. And if you have to enforce that condition, you would blind the signature sigma AC between Alice and Carol on a condition that it can be unblinded if a signature between Carol and Dave is produced, right? So this is the very high level logic. And if that is the case, Carol and Dave simply can just produce the one and only valid signature that they have, right? I'm not going into the detail of how this blinding happens or unblinding happens. I'm just dealing with the logic. So is there a follow-up or?
He said,
okay.
I understood.
Okay, got it. Okay. Yeah, okay, perfect. Okay, let me, yeah, okay, perfect. Okay. So we set out to achieve this, and there are two key techniques that we introduce in this work. On a cryptographic layer, we introduce this primitive called lockable signatures. And at the transaction layer, we introduce a technique called as a local three-party channel, both of which I will explain in the upcoming slides. Okay, so since this primitive is a bit new, I'll just I won't go into the formal details, but give an intuition as to how this signature works. It's a pretty simple tool, but seems a powerful one. So in the setting, you will have think of this green values as messages, public key and secret key, and there's this red pair, there's like M tilde, PK tilde, and SK tilde. Okay. Now there is an algorithm lock where these two tuples are taken as input, and then the lock algorithm outputs some lock. And if this sigma tilde, which is red in color, if it's a valid signature on PK tilde and M tilde, if it's a valid signature, then you can use an unlock algorithm that takes as input this sigma tilde and this lock, and just outputs signature sigma, which is a valid signature on PK and M, right? So there is sigma tilde, which is the locking signature, and there is sigma, which is the locked signature. Okay? So this is the functionality of the primitive. In terms of security, intuitively, what we want is hiding, which says there is a honest execution of the lock algorithm, and that outputs a lock, and then you have a simulated execution that just takes as input M and PK. It doesn't take as input the secret key of either the locking signature or the locked signature. It just takes the message and the public keys from both ends, and it outputs a lock, and they have to be computationally indistinguishable for an efficient adversary. And we can have a weak hiding property, which is a search variant, right? So there is a harnessed execution of this lock. The adversary gets this lock, and the adversary somehow has to output the locked signature by just giving the lock to him. So that's a weaker notion of hiding. And we want what is called an unlockability property that says that you have an event where the adversary outputs a lock and a locking signature, that is sigma tilde, which is a valid signature on pk tilde and m tilde, right? So adversary outputs a lock and a locking signature. And you take the lock and you take the locking signature, put it into the unlock algorithm. It outputs some value sigma, but that sigma happens to be an invalid. It happens to be an invalid signature on PK and M, right? So this is this event should happen only with negligible probability, right? So one detail that I missed here is that this lock here is honestly generated lock, not an adversarial one. Okay, so you want hiding that says that is the locked signature that is hidden. You want unlockability that says, given the locking signature, given the valid locking signature, I will get a valid locked signature, right? So that's it. The primitive is over. Okay, so we can generically get this by, in the random oracle model by simply XORing the locked signature and the hash of the locking signature. And the unlock algorithm simply takes as input the locking signature and XORs it, hashes it and XORs it with the lock, and to get the locked signature sigma. And we can also get it for the case of BLS, where the lock is simply the aggregate of sigma and sigma tilde, right? So there is a nice property of BLS signatures that's an assumption that says, given an aggregate signature, which is like an aggregate of two signatures, you cannot extract the individual signatures, right? It's infeasible to efficiently extract the individual signatures. So that's a cool, nice property that's given in BLS, and we are able to exploit it for the case of lockable signatures. And the unlock algorithm is simple. So you give in the lock, and you take the locking signature sigma tilde, and just divide it out, and you get the locked signature sigma. Okay, so this is all about lockable signatures. Talking about the local three-party channel. So, going back to the setting of a payment channel, right? So there's a shared public key, and a channel between Carol and Dave. This is what we have now. So now think of a transaction, right? Call it the setup transaction that spends some coins from this channel, right, to another channel that is controlled by Alice, Carol, and Dave. Right, so the channel that you have now is controlled by Carol and Dave. The funds are transferred from this two-party channel to a three-party channel, right? That's also controlled by Alice. Okay, but the important thing to note here is that the channel between Carol and Dave is on-chain, while using the setup transaction going to this three-party channel is done off-chain. So this setup transaction is not posted on-chain, right? So that's why we call it the local three-party channel, and everything else stays the same for whatever is for a payment channel. So it's just transferring control from a two-party to a three-party locally, not on-chain. Okay, so how do you put these things together? So I'm going to give some intuition about the generic protocol. So this was what we had, right? So we had these channels, two-party channels between Alice, Carol, Dave, and Bob. Right, so you had these two-party channels. Now, what these parties do, always from left to right, right? Always from left to right. They have these setup transactions that transform these two-party channels to a three-party channel, right? So to a locally, right? These are not posted on chain. So Alice and Carol put their two-party channel into a three-party channel. So of course, Alice is going to be the other party here. Think of, see this, the channel between Carol and Dave. Now it's controlled by Alice, Carol, and Dave. So that is the three-party CH subscript ACD here. And similarly, the two-party channel between Dave and Bob is now, transferred. The control is transferred to Alice, Dave, and Bob. The crucial thing here is that to spend from these three-party channels, Alice also needs to sign a transaction, right? So in some way, you are giving Alice some control here, okay? Okay, so now all these two-party channels, you can now think of them as three-party channels, even though that's not on-chain. For our purposes, you can think of them as three-party channels between these parties. Okay, so this is like the payment setup phase, right? You set up these payments in this manner. So now to go into the lock phase, you want to establish these, blinded signatures that we saw before, right? So you take a normal payment transaction from this three-party channels to the corresponding party. So previously it was a two-party channel to the corresponding party, but now it's the funds are transferred from the three-party channel to the concerned party. So these are the payment transactions you set up like as it was before. And now what happens is Alice, these locks that we saw in the lockable signatures, right? The locking algorithm is run such that first the lock is generated where the locked signature is sigma AAC, which is a valid signature on this payment transaction, right? And the corresponding locking signature is the signature on the payment transaction that is between Carol and Dave, right? So this lock is first generated, and then you generate another lock where sigma ACD, which is the signature that is required for the payment transaction between Carol and Dave. So that is the locked signature here. And the locking signature is sigma ADP, which is the transaction on this transaction here, which is the signature on this transaction here. Okay. And then finally, you generate another lock where the locked signature is sigma ADP, which is the signature on the payment between Dave and Bob. And there is some sigma star on some arbitrary message. That is like that is the locking signature for this particular lock. Okay. So so you set up these payment transactions and you iteratively generate these locks. And to generate these locks, what you do is, okay, so to generate the first lock, an MPC protocol is run between Alice, Carol, and Dave, right? Because think of all the parties that need to input their secret keys here. So there is Alice, Carol, and Dave. These are the three parties that are involved here. So they are participating in an MPC to generate this lock. For the other one, you have all the four parties involving in an MPC. And for the last one, you just need Alice, Dave, and Bob. All right. So these MPC protocols are run in this manner, in this order, and then these locks are generated. Okay. So there are some requirements from this MPC protocol. The protocol has to be secure with the bots. But you don't require any sort of a fairness or a guaranteed output delivery. Okay, the reason is if a honest party in this payment path is participating in an MPC and there is a fairness that is violated, so the honest party doesn't get any output out of the MPC, the party can simply refuse to participate in all the locks, in all the subsequent locks, right? So if you see here, you need Carol to take part in the first MPC, the second one, right? So if the fairness is violated for Carol in the first MPC, Carol just refuses to participate in any further MPC, right? So is there a question? Okay. So,
it's not.
Okay, cool. Okay, so one second. Okay, perfect. So you don't require any form of fairness or guaranteed output delivery. You just need a bots, security with the bots. And in terms of functionality, the MPC protocol should ensure that there is consistency among these locks across hops, right? So in other words, you want that the signature that is the locking signature for one lock to be the locked signature of the other lock, right? So there's this correspondence needs to be maintained here, and you want the MPC protocol to ensure that this consistency is not violated. Okay, that's about the MPC protocol. There are a few more details. I won't go into those details here. So these locks are established now, and how does this payment is released now? So what happens now is Alice and Bob, right? They jointly generate this sigma star, which is the locking signature for this final lock. Okay, so Alice and Bob can generate the sigma star. This means that you have this setting. Once the sigma star is generated, Bob can use the unlock algorithm to learn the sigma ADP, right, which is a valid signature on the payment from Dave. Once this signature is learned, is output, Dave can unlock its own lock to get sigma ACD, which is a signature on its payment. And then Carol also is able to unlock and learn the corresponding valid signature. Okay. Okay. So just to give some brief intuition about security. So you have this lock with sigma AAC as the locked signature and sigma ACD as a locking signature, right? Now, what if sigma AAC is generated before sigma ACD is revealed, right? So this just means that Carol is able to get paid before Carol pays Dave, right? So this shouldn't happen. We want to prevent this. And you can rely on the hiding property of the lockable signatures here, because then that just says that Carol cannot learn any information about sigma AAC. And the other case that you want to prevent is, what if sigma ACD is revealed, but you cannot unlock a valid sigma AAC, right? This situation says that Carol pays Dave, but it cannot get paid from Alice, right? So you want to prevent this situation also, and you can rely on the unlockability property of the lockable signatures. So you can prevent this scenario also, right? So the two most crucial scenarios, you can rely on the security of the lockable signatures. All right, so that's the generic protocol. Going to the BLS specific protocol, I promised you that we can have a very efficient protocol. So nothing changes with respect to the setup phase, right? So there is the two-party channels are converted into three-party channels. The payment transactions are set up. The locks are generated. So the efficiency really comes in the lock generation. I'm going to show you quickly how to generate a lock for the case of Dave, right? Okay, so Dave is really concerned about the payment transactions. One that he gets paid from Carol, and one where he pays Bob, right? Now what happens is we have this interactive protocol where Carol signs this payment transaction, sends sigma C to Dave, and Bob signs the payment transaction on the right, sends the corresponding signature to Dave. Both these signatures are verifiable. And this is because we are able to rely on this nice property of BLS signatures, where even partial signatures are valid signatures, right? That's a very cool property. Okay, so these two signatures are given to Dave. He verifies these signatures. And then Alice, right, gives an aggregate of its signature on the payment transaction here that is denoted in green here, sigma A, and it aggregates that signature sigma A with the signature on the other payment transaction, right? So now Dave can verify this aggregate signature. That's absolutely fine. And what does Dave do now? Dave can sign both these transactions, right? That is just sigma D and sigma D here in both colors. And he just aggregates all the signatures that he received from everyone. And the nice property here is that, the lock is such that all the green signatures here, the product of all the green signatures here give you the valid signature on the payment transaction between Carol and Dave. And all the red signatures, the product of the red signatures, give you the valid signature on the payment transaction between Dave and Bob. Right, so this structure is just we are inheriting from the BLS signatures. Okay, for the security of this particular BLS protocol, for the first case where the locked signature is revealed before the locking signature, we are able to rely on the weak hiding property of the BLS-based lockable signatures, and this crucially relies on this the aggregate extraction assumption, right? Given an aggregate signature, you cannot extract the individual signatures that were aggregated, right? So that is the property that we rely on. And for the other case where the locking signature is revealed, but you cannot unlock a valid signature, you can just rely on the uniqueness property of the BLS signatures and a correct execution and a uniqueness property of the BLS signatures. So both these adverse events can be prevented in this protocol. Okay, so I'm kind of coming towards the conclusion here. So we also showed the efficiency of the BLS protocol. So the crucial point to note here are in terms of the concrete numbers. If you see the communication complexity for the locking algorithm, right, in case of BLS, it is significantly less than the other ones, simply because BLS signatures are unique, right? So if a party in the generation of the lock for Dave, we saw that Bob is signing a signature and giving to Dave, right? So this signature will since it is unique, if there are further parties to the right of Bob, right, who further you keep generating locks in a sequential manner, these parties need not send the signatures again, right? Because since the signatures are unique. Similarly, you're also able to save a lot of time in the locking phase because the signatures, the unique signatures that are sent are also verified, right? So you don't need to send them again. That is communication, and you don't need to verify them again, and you save it. Thereby, you save in terms of time also. So the cost, the other cost, in the setup phase and in the release phase really comes from the fact that for BLS you have the pairing to verify, and that's the only reason for slightly larger numbers compared to Schnorr and ECDSA. All right. Okay. So in conclusion, so we are able to now say that you can make cross-currency payments across any cryptocurrency that uses any signature scheme. We do not rely on any special scripts, right? We don't need HTLCs anymore. Just rely on signature schemes. You can do it. And the generic protocol, since it kind of uses this generic purpose MPC, is not super efficient, but what it gives us is a blueprint, right? It gives us a blueprint for developing efficient PCN protocols for specific signature schemes. And we give an evidence by following the blueprint and designing one for the case of BLS signatures. So there could be many other signature schemes that are of interest, could use a similar approach as our blueprint, and you can design payment channel protocols for other chains as well. So in terms of tools that are quite simple, but could have many other applications in the future, are this lockable signatures and the local three-party channels that we introduce in our paper. And so you can check the full paper. It's on ePrint, and please feel free to write a mail to me if you have any questions or any ideas or anything. And so thank you for listening, and I'm open for questions, really. Are you guys still there, or?
Yeah, I guess there's just no questions.
Okay, I hope I didn't lose you guys.
Yeah, it's a very good talk. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you for the talk.
All right, it was my pleasure. Yeah. Thanks for coming, by the way. Okay, so if there are no further questions, shall I stop the share? Fine.
Sure. Yeah, I guess this is our today's seminar, and thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Then have a nice day, and then see you guys soon.
Thank you too. That's really a nice talk. Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye. Take care. Bye.